The ninth tarot card. The Hermit. The ninth card of the tarot is called the Hermit. In it we find expressed all the ideas of initiation, for here we have a picture of an old man who, in spite of the fact that as he walks he leans upon a staff, nevertheless is strong and upright, with eyes wide open and undimmed, looking steadily ahead. He is wrapped in a long mantle and in his uplifted right hand carries a lantern. The symbology of this card is plain. The age of the Hermit denotes not senility, but the strength and vigor of maturity, hence experience, discretion, and wisdom. The staff upon which he leans is the staff of the patriarchs, or that divine strength upon which he has learned to lean. It is the power of the one life which every initiate must gain through complete mastery of the forces of nature. It is also the magic wand with which he performs his miracles, and by whose use he proves to the world that he has passed the great initiation of number 9. It is the power of the one life like a staff running through and supporting all. It is Aaron's rod of power which will never fail him, Aaron symbolizing the priestly attributes through which the initiate serves before the throne of the great law. It is the shepherd's crook with which he can guide the straying and uplift the fallen. It is that which he has tested and proved, for during all his long and toilsome journey to the gate of initiation, which now stands open before him, it has never failed him. The rod has 7 knots or rings which are the 7 steps of purification. The lighted lamp he holds high above his head is the light of knowledge, the lamp of truth or the word, i.e., thy word shall be a light to my path, and a lamp unto my feet. It is the inner illumination of one who has come off victor. Just as in his earlier steps the light shone above him as the star of initiation, which he had to follow over deserts, morasses, and desolate regions without losing sight of it, even though at times the dark mists of earth hid it from view, so it is still the light from the one Master, his own immortal self, of which we read, the light from the one Master, the one unfading light of spirit, shoots its effulgent beams on the disciple from the very first. Its rays thread through the thick dark clouds of matter. Now here, now there, these rays illuminate, like sunsparks light the earth through the thick foliage of the jungle growth. But, O disciple, unless the flesh is passive, head cool, the soul as firm and pure as flaming diamond, the radiance will not reach the chamber, the center of spiritual consciousness. Its sunlight will not warm the heart. The hermit has let the light reach the chamber of his heart. He has also made it shine in the chamber or center of spiritual consciousness. Hence the symbol of the light being placed in the lantern, i.e., no longer fitful like a distant star, but in his conscious grasp, ready to guide him every step of the way. The mantle which envelopes him and partially hides the lighted lamp is the mantle of discretion with which the initiate must enwrap himself and shield the full light of his lamp from the eyes of the profane. For every soul must find the light within himself ere he can recognize it in another or even bear its full effulgence. This card balances the 7th and 8th cards, the victor in his chariot and the mother power of love which holds the scales of justice. It expresses the protection of the initiates who, although few in numbers as compared with the great mass of humanity, are still the protectors of humanity. They stand like a guardian wall around mankind. Like watchmen in a tower, their lamps held high, they are ready to fly to help and succor every child of man who cries out for light and help, if the light and help are really needed. But even this help is given wisely, for there are cases in which it is best that the child should learn to help itself, even as a loving mother may wisely allow her babe to cry itself to sleep, rather than fly to it when she knows that it needs nothing but sleep. They remain upon the hilltops throughout the long nights of spiritual darkness, like faithful shepherds watching over their sleeping sheep, with their staff ever ready to reach out to one who is slipping and falling, its crook ready to lift one who is torn and bleeding, and their mantle of charity ready to enwrap those who are suffering from the bitter storms of passion and desire. But, dear student, they are ever wrapped in the mantle of discretion, hence only those who dare, do, and keep silent can ever see the light of the hermit's lamp. The Ninth Commandment. 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Exodus 20:16. Since 9 is the number of initiation, two pertinent questions at once arise concerning the esoteric interpretation of this commandment. First, who is thy neighbor? Second, what relation does false witness bear to initiation? The Bible description of the man who fell among thieves and was rescued by the Samaritan answers the first question. Thy neighbor is anyone whom the great law brings directly into your path, who can be helped by you if you are willing to take note of his needs. The question as to what false witness has to do with initiation will bear careful analysis. The soul is ready to bear the great initiation only when it can face itself and see all things in their true relations. Over the first gateway to the path there is written in letters of gold, "Man, know thyself," and when the outward comprehension of this injunction has been gained, at the very last gate the neophyte once more faces the same sentence, but now written in letters of living fire within his quivering flesh, "Man, know thyself." If we would meet the final test of initiation unappalled, we must accept this precept and strive diligently to obey it. As the disciples and servants of the true self, our senses must be trained not to bear false witness. To do this, we must not accept as final the reports of our senses until they have been checked up and verified by our reason, experience, judgment, and discrimination, illumined by our intuition. Few persons can bear to have the searchlight of truth turned upon their own lives, within themselves. They are wont to bear false witness by making excuses and blaming conditions or other persons for the results of their own shortcomings. At one extreme they bear false witness in the form of exaggerated humility, scourging themselves with the scorpion whips of self-condemnation, looking upon themselves as worms of the dust, unworthy or incapable of lofty attainments. At the other extreme are those who live in a perfect glamour of the senses, accepting as right and proper whatever report the senses make. They forever focus the limelight of self-approval and admiration upon themselves. They are ever posing, dwelling on their good points, flattering themselves to themselves, excusing every shortcoming with some flattering delusion. They interpret every phase of life as a stage setting to bring them into more favorable notice. In fact, they are forever acting a part which they have assumed so long that they almost believe in it themselves and vainly hope that the world believes it to be their true character. All this is bearing false witness to the truth. If by any chance such persons should demand to be brought into the hall of initiation, they're to be confronted with the personality they are really manifesting, they would be appalled at the sight and refuse to admit that it was their own creation. For the first time they would awake to find their pose revealed, the show over, and no audience present but themselves and their great initiator, with all glamour of the senses stripped from the reality and standing face to face with the self they have manifested. These are the ones who fly shrieking in madness from the sight of their dweller. This is the truth back of the many tales of the terrifying experiences encountered during initiation. For ere this step can be taken, the soul must face that which it has created by its witnessing, whether true or false, in everyday life. That we may not bear false witness against our neighbor, we need to reach the point where we do not bear false witness against ourselves. Then we are able to see clearly and consequently can help our neighbor. While we should not contemplate or dwell upon them, to shut our eyes to truths that are unpleasant or to imperfections within ourselves which we know exist, is refusing to recognize truth, hence is bearing false witness. While we should mention, emphasize, and dwell upon the good in our brothers and sisters, it is surely bearing false witness to shut our eyes to their shortcomings and say that all in them is good. That we may bear no false witness, we must learn to seek out the true motives, both in ourselves and in others. Then we will find that we will no longer condemn others, because we will realize how much we ourselves fall short of manifesting the ideals we have chosen. We will see that every soul is upon some step of the path, some of which we may have passed. And if we have trained our senses not to bear false witness, we will know what motive was back of the effect which our senses report. And by thus working from the underlying cause, rather than from the effect, we will be able to remedy any failure in ourselves and be a help to others. Thus the ninth commandment is given as a preparation for initiation. Strive always to see clearly and bear true witness. Then when you face your great initiation, there will be nothing in yourself that has been hidden, denied, or covered up. Hence there will be nothing that can affright you. For as the great initiator holds out the rod of power, he cries with a mighty voice, "Thou shalt not bear false witness either against thyself or thy neighbor." And only as we are able to meet this test can we grasp that magic rod.